What is Trenton wearing, honey? I don't know. He was ready for bed.
A young mother reports an unimaginable crime, the kidnapping of her son, 2-year-old Trenton Duckett. Someone cut through this window screen and opened a bedroom window where the toddler had been sleeping. Now he was gone.
You don't know what you dressed him in before you went to bed? He might have had his shoes off.
That chilling phone call was made from this very apartment back in 2006. Nearly 2 decades later, people in this community are still asking, where's Trenton? He's never been found. This is what Trenton Duckett looked like when he vanished. And this is what Trenton Duckett might look like today as a young adult. Some people, including his family, are still holding out hope that he could be alive.
17 days into the search for Trenton Duckett, and fatigue is starting to set in.
I was working as a TV news reporter in Central Florida when Trenton disappeared. To this day, it remains one of the most intriguing mysteries of my career. Digging through some of my old case files, reviewing hours of video footage stored on beta tapes, and talking with the missing boy's family, I'm going to take you inside the investigation, starting from the moment police first learned about the disappearance.
We're hoping that anybody with any information is going to give us a call. We definitely want to get Trenton home.
The initial details were frightening. In Leesburg, Florida, about 40 miles northwest of Orlando, Trenton Duckett was reported kidnapped from the apartment he shared with his mother, Melinda Duckett.
I can't even start to begin to imagine what kind of person would do something like that to begin with.
Melinda told police her son had been abducted from his bedroom while she was in an adjoining room watching TV with some friends.
And how long has he been gone? You don't know?
I was watching a movie that was 2 hours long. I checked on him before anyone came down to the house.
Okay.
Melinda never told the 911 dispatcher the name of anyone who might have kidnapped her son, but the mother did make this vague statement.
I know he freaking did it.
I know he freaking did it. Melinda does not immediately say who he is, but suspicion would soon fall on Melinda's estranged husband, Trenton's father, Josh Duckett. The couple was separated and going through a very ugly divorce.
Obviously, we were looking at Josh very early on.
Just weeks before her son disappeared, Melinda came here to the Lake County Courthouse where she filed for a restraining order against Josh, claiming she and Trenton were in danger. As evidence, Melinda showed the judge this printout from the social media website MySpace. The message, which appeared to have been written by Josh, said, quote, "I hate you because you ruined my life and took my son. I'm going to hunt you and your damn son down one day and kill both of you. I want to put you through torture. I'll bury your son with you."
I had a lot of fingers pointed at me and stuff like that.
Police immediately questioned Josh Duckett. Why did you write that threatening email to Melinda?
Didn't do it.
I recently caught up with Josh nearly 2 decades after his son disappeared. Josh told me the same thing he told detectives back then. He is not the author of that message.
I did not send the email.
According to police, Josh is telling the truth. Detectives quickly discovered Melinda had logged into Josh's MySpace account.
When they looked at it, they found that she had been connected to the IP address at her grandparents' house. When she typed the email, sent it to my MySpace, and then sent it from MySpace on my page back to herself.
At that point, Leesburg police here could have taken Melinda Duckett into custody. Detectives secretly drafted this arrest warrant accusing the mother of computer crimes and perjury. But investigators made the strategic decision to remain quiet about what they knew and allowed Melinda to remain free in hopes that she would help them find Trenton.
All we want is him to come back and safe and sound, obviously quickly as possible.
Melinda told one of my colleagues she was trying to remain positive that her son would be found.
There's no other way to think about that. And eventually we are going to get him back no matter what.
Josh also stood in front of cameras begging for his son's safe return.
Just keep your hopes high. I mean, we're still looking for Trenton. That's our main focus, is to look for Trenton.
As search teams scoured woods and swamps in search of the missing boy, investigators questioned sex offenders living near this apartment complex here where Trenton was reported kidnapped. But detectives also focused on the 2-year-old's parents.
We have reports of where Trenton was. We want to get confirmation of where Trenton was.
During this news conference, police displayed photos of Josh and Melinda and asked the public to help verify their whereabouts in the hours before Trenton disappeared. Josh stood behind police during that news conference, Melinda was noticeably absent.
I've given my whole story. I've cooperated. Everything that I had been doing, they've checked it out, and so far they're satisfied with what they found.
Immediately after that police news conference, I called Melinda on the phone. She agreed to meet me here at the Venetian Gardens Park in Leesburg, where she had celebrated Trenton's second birthday just a few weeks earlier. As I glanced through photos of Trenton that Melinda brought me, we started to chat.
But you were with him all day Saturday and all day Sunday?
Right. I had stopped down at family houses and stuff like that, but yes.
I asked Melinda about her missing son, but the conversation kept shifting back to her.
I go into the grocery store and people recognize me in there. It's absolutely bizarre.
I'm sure you know, I mean, a lot of people are questioning whether you had something to do with this.
Oh, I understand that. I do.
Could you harm your own child?
No.
Then I asked Melinda how her son's abductor should be punished.
If someone does something to your family, I mean, why wouldn't you want something to happen to them to go to jail or something like that? Or I don't care. I just want my life to go back to normal.
And that's when our interview abruptly came to an end. But 2 days later, Melinda would appear on TV once again.
Where were you? Why aren't you telling us where you were that day? You were the last person to be seen with him.
CNN talk show host Nancy Grace invited Melinda to phone into her program.
Just shopping, going around, driving.
Shopping where?
Well, we didn't go anywhere specific.
Well, I mean, if you went shopping, you had to go into a store. What store did you go into?
I didn't get into any specifics.
The day after this Nancy Grace interview was taped, but before it actually aired on TV, authorities were called to the home of Melinda's grandparents in the Villages. That's where they found Melinda Duckett dead.
It is still very early in the death investigation, but initial observations indicate the death was from a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
At the time, Josh was at the police station.
And they said, we have to tell you something. And I remember looking dead at him and saying, she killed herself, didn't she? And they said, yes.
Josh remains frustrated that law enforcement did not arrest Melinda when they had the chance.
She was the only suspect, and a lot of answers went with her.
But Melinda's suicide did not stop police here from trying to find Trenton. Far from it. In fact, the missing child case is still open. Some remain hopeful that Trenton Duckett could still be alive. This age-progressed photo shows what he might look like today as a young adult. Now, others are skeptical, but still want his body found so this mystery can be brought to an end. Next on Where's Trenton, we'll show you the suspicious items detectives found in a dumpster outside Melinda Duckett's apartment, and you'll see how police use cell phone records to retrace the mother's movements in the hours before she reported her son missing.
This was a very bad situation for everybody. It was like a nightmare that just didn't go away.
Mourners arrive at this Florida church in 2006 where a funeral was being held for Melinda Duckett. The young mother committed suicide less than 2 weeks after reporting the disappearance of her son Trenton.
Hello. Hi. What is Trenton wearing, honey?
I don't know. He was ready for bed.
Melinda told a 911 dispatcher someone had kidnapped the 2-year-old from their apartment while she was in an adjoining room. The screen covering Trenton's bedroom window had been sliced open.
You don't know what you dressed him in before you went to bed?
He might have had his shoes off.
All we want is him to come back and safe and sound, obviously quickly as possible.
Nearly 2 decades later, the child has never been found, prompting the question, where's Trenton? On the night he disappeared, police looked all over this apartment complex here for anyone who may have witnessed the abduction. Soon, lead detective Rich Giles would arrive to begin the investigation.
And I made a promise early on, which is really taboo for a police detective or a police officer to do. You never promise the family of a victim that you're going to find their child.
I spoke with Giles in 2009, shortly after he retired from the Leesburg Police Department. The detective could never determine whether Trenton's bedroom window screen was cut from the inside or outside, but as this crime scene photo shows, the window pane and mini blinds are open only a few inches. Police say that opening is the same size as the slit in the window screen and is way too small for an adult to fit through.
It appeared like it was a staged crime scene.
Also, notice these pillows on the toddler's bed. The day after this crime scene photo was taken, detectives found one of those pillows inside a dumpster.
That pillow, and only that pillow, off of his bed was thrown in the trash. It was thrown in the trash after the search warrant.
And that's not all police found inside this very dumpster here in front of Melinda's apartment. Also in the trash, Trenton's first birthday card, a box filled with his toys, and Trenton's baby pictures, including a sonogram image. But while police were suspicious of the mother, they did not immediately rule out the boy's father, Josh Duckett, who was Melinda's estranged husband.
The possibility of Joshua's involvement is probably here on the scale, and the possibility of the outside abduction is here on the scale, and the possibility of Melinda's involvement is up higher on the scale.
These stacks of records from the Florida Department of Children and Families detail a rocky relationship between Melinda and Josh Duckett.
You know, neither of us had really lived life. We didn't really know what we were doing or what we were getting into.
Josh and Melinda were just 19 years old when they brought Trenton home from the hospital.
We were released the day that Hurricane Charlie came through. And it was like we were released to drive home in the storm.
The couple later married, but things just did not work out. They were separated throughout much of Trenton's first 2 years of life. Josh and Melinda each accused each other of abusing Trenton, but investigators with the Florida Department of Children and Families say they never found any physical evidence indicating that the child was being harmed. Meanwhile, custody of Trenton bounced from family member to family member.
It was just a whole lot of back and forth.
Unbeknownst to Josh, Melinda had reportedly been searching for a hitman. Police records released years later show the target was her husband.
And it was just like, wow, this is how in-depth this whole thing is. She was trying to hire someone to kill me.
After his son's disappearance, Josh Duckett voluntarily came down here to the police station to take a polygraph examination, which Leesburg police confirm he passed. Melinda Duckett refused to take a lie detector, reportedly at the advice of her attorney. But the mother did agree to a voice stress analysis. According to police, that test indicated possible deception when Melinda was asked, "Did you make up the story about Trenton being taken?"
Could you harm your own child?
No.
I spoke with Melinda 3 days before she committed suicide. I wanted to ask her about a very unusual post she made on the social media website MySpace shortly after her son's disappearance. It read, "Machiavelli Vigilante." Machiavelli was a 15th century philosopher who's often associated with the concept the ends justify the means. A vigilante is someone who takes the law into their own hands. Melinda had a different definition.
Well, a Machiavellian, from what I had learned in school, is someone that, pushes through, does whatever it takes to get, their goals or dreams or anything, done. Vigilante is someone who, just like Robin Hood, does the right over the wrong.
Again, Melinda wrote that on her MySpace page after her son disappeared. But that was not the only thing baffling to detectives. They wanted to know exactly where Melinda and Trenton were in the hours leading up to his disappearance.
She was not forthcoming or overly cooperative.
Melinda told investigators she and the toddler spent the day driving around Central Florida in her Mitsubishi Eclipse, at one point stopping by her grandparents' house, but she claims they were not at home. Melinda says she and Trenton then traveled to the Altamont Mall in neighboring Seminole County. Police later checked mall security cameras, but could not confirm the mother and child had been there. Melinda claimed they then got lost and ended up in downtown Orlando near the former TD Waterhouse Center Arena before returning home to Leesburg.
You were with him all day Saturday and all day Sunday?
Right. I had stopped down at family houses and stuff like that, but yes.
Detectives say Melinda's story simply does not match the evidence. Witness statements, ATM records, and cell phone tower data tell a different version. According to police, Melinda Duckett was seen in a Leesburg store by herself without Trenton at 8 a.m. and then used a nearby ATM at 10:49 a.m. Cell phone pings placed the mother near Ocala, possibly around the Paddock Mall, around 12:08 p.m. It appears she then may have traveled south with her cell phone pinging near Wildwood around 12:30 and then somewhere near Mineola around 12:45. At that point, Melinda's cell phone activity goes silent for nearly 3 hours. Her next cell phone ping would be near Tavares at 3:42 p.m. A short time later, around 4 o'clock, a witness claims to have seen Melinda back at her Leesburg apartment, again without Trenton. Melinda told police she put Trenton to bed in his room here around 6:45. About 15 minutes later, two of Melinda's friends showed up at the apartment to watch movies. They say they never saw Trenton that night. Around 9 o'clock, one of those friends called 911 after Melinda claims she discovered her son was missing from his room.
And how long has he been gone? You don't know?
Detective Giles was preparing to confront Melinda about her inconsistent stories.
We took a huge copy of the timeline of all of her cell phone activity, her travels that were confirmed, and we taped it all along the wall.
That's when an FBI agent's cell phone began to ring.
And he became extremely, distraught, upset. Slammed his phone down, and he goes, "She killed herself."
Melinda's suicide inside her grandparents' home was a major setback. But the missing child investigation was only just beginning. While many assume Trenton is dead, either intentionally or by accident, there is no proof of that. Police have never found any blood or other evidence that conclusively shows Trenton was harmed.
There's nothing to indicate any sign of trauma has occurred, so nothing of that nature.
And that gives Trenton's dad hope his son might still be alive.
Until they can show me something else, there's nothing else to go on other than he's out there somewhere, and we have to continue to push the effort to try and find him.
This age-progressed photo shows what Trenton might look like now as a young adult. The mystery of his disappearance has captivated the community, and it's been a source of intrigue for true crime enthusiasts. At the time Trenton vanished, social media was just in its infancy. In fact, iPhones had not yet even been invented.
And we all get together on a daily basis, and we basically talk about Trenton. Where is he? Is he alive? Is he not?
Next on Where's Trenton, we'll show you how armchair cyber sleuths tried to solve the mystery of the toddler's disappearance.
Live at Team Trenton headquarters.
As a popular TV talk show host brought the case to a nationwide audience.
17 days into the search for Trenton Duckett, and fatigue is starting to set in.
When I began covering the disappearance of Trenton Duckett as a Central Florida TV reporter back in 2006, most people learned about the case by reading newspapers or watching the evening news.
Right now, we can go ahead and announce that Melinda Duckett is the prime suspect in the reported disappearance of Trenton.
Nowadays, when a child is kidnapped or disappears, we might get an Amber Alert on our smartphones. That was certainly not the case back then. iPhones had not yet been invented, and social media was just in its infancy. Yet it seemed like everywhere we went here in downtown Leesburg, people were asking, "Where's Trenton?" That was also true among the armchair sleuths.
The wife took the child.
You think the child's all right?
Yes, I do.
Most folks talked about Trenton's disappearance face to face.
They think the mother did it. I'm not sure.
It was certainly a hot topic at hair salons like this one in downtown Leesburg.
They're hoping that maybe he's just being hidden, possibly, that kind of thing. But I think everybody's got their own, worries and theories about what's going on right now.
But for a relatively small tech-savvy group, information about Trenton Duckett's disappearance was available online. Sites like Web Sleuths, YouSleuth, Crime Blog, Scared Monkeys, and Hot gave armchair detectives a forum to discuss the case with other true crime enthusiasts.
You become kind of a public figure at that point where literally everything you do is scrutinized.
Trenton's father, Josh Duckett, tells me he occasionally followed those early websites focused on his missing son's case. One day, a mysterious online poster using the screen name Mert claimed he had inside knowledge about Trenton's disappearance. Mert suggested that around the 12th of January, this was back in 2007, there would be a major break in the Duckett case. That morning, Mert posted this startling message addressed to Trenton's caretaker that read, "I now know why Melinda trusted you to take care of Trenton." Mert urged the captor to drop Trenton off at a hospital, saying, "If you need help, contact me. You know how."
And I feel things are coming about.
But you don't know that for a fact?
Not for a fact.
I tracked down Mert, real name William Murtaugh. The truck driver admitted having no ties to the Duckett investigation.
And we all get together on a daily basis, and we basically talk about Trenton. Where is he? Is he alive? Is he not?
Murtaugh said his internet postings falsely claiming to know Trenton's caretaker were just a misguided attempt to solve the case using what he called a psychology trick.
I lost a child at the age of 25, and I know what it's like for a father not to have a son. and I don't want Josh to go through that.
These so-called cyber sleuths discussed many theories about Trenton Duckett's disappearance, including one involving Trenton's grandfather.
I did not feel that she was actually missing.
James Duckett, a former Mascot, Florida police officer, has been on Florida's death row since 1988 for the rape and murder of 11-year-old Teresa Maccabee.
I did not do this.
James, who is Josh's father, maintains his innocence. After his grandson Trenton vanished, detectives interviewed James on death row, but found no evidence of his involvement. Other internet discussions focused on pornographic videos Melinda Duckett made of herself and sold online.
Hi, I've got a special surprise for you.
But again, police say they found no connection between those adult videos and Trenton's disappearance. As the missing child case was being dissected online,
Where were you? Why aren't you telling us where you were that day? You were the last person to be seen with him.
CNN talk show host Nancy Grace was bringing the case to a national audience.
Basically just shopping, going around, driving.
Shopping where?
Well, we didn't go anywhere specific.
Well, I mean, if you went shopping, you had to go into a store. What store did you go into?
I didn't get into any specifics.
The day after this interview with Melinda was recorded, but before it actually aired on TV, Melinda killed herself inside her grandparents' home. Melinda's family later filed this lawsuit against Nancy Grace and CNN, claiming that confrontational interview drove the 21-year-old mother to suicide.
You look for somebody to blame. You look hard. I do not feel that our show is to blame for what happened to Melinda Duckett.
While defending the lawsuit, attorneys for CNN and Nancy Grace learned about this script that Melinda had written on her computer before the interview was taped. Now, they argue that this script, which is basically a list of talking points, proves that Melinda was well prepared for the questions Grace would ask her.
I'm hoping very much to reinvigorate the search for Trenton.
Shortly before the lawsuit was filed, Grace traveled to Leesburg,
Live at Team Trenton headquarters.
where she broadcast her show.
Hopefully more tips will be coming into the tip line.
While critics say Grace's involvement in the case was done for TV ratings, Josh believes she genuinely wanted to help find Trenton.
To me, she's awesome. Love her to death to this day.
Melinda's family later reached a settlement in the lawsuit, saying the parties now agree that Nancy Grace, the producers of her program, and CNN engaged in no intentional wrongdoing in the course of dedicating a program to finding the missing toddler. As part of that settlement, CNN agreed to pay $200,000 for the sole purpose of locating Trenton Duckett. That money was later given to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Every few years, the nonprofit publishes a new age-progressed photo of Trenton. This is what he might look like today as a young adult. Could Trenton still be alive? Shortly after the toddler disappeared, a new witness came forward that seemed to turn the investigation upside down.
But for sure, she called him Trenton, and you guys discussed the name Trenton.
This witness raised the possibility that Melinda Duckett may have given her son away to someone else. Next on Where's Trenton, we explore the handoff theory.
But for sure, she called him Trenton, and you guys discussed the name Trenton.
Because I thought it was, my dad's name. Yeah.
This surprise witness, who came forward weeks after 2-year-old Trenton Duckett disappeared, was about to turn the missing child investigation upside down. A woman who works at the drive-thru of this Bellevue Wendy's restaurant now says she saw Melinda Duckett and Trenton the morning he vanished. I was working as a TV news reporter in Central Florida back in 2006 when Melinda Duckett claimed her son had been kidnapped.
I can't even start to begin to imagine what kind of person would do something like that to begin with.
Melinda told police that an abductor snatched her son out of his bedroom window here. But nearly 2 weeks after reporting Trenton's disappearance, Melinda took her own life. Now, nearly 2 decades later, people are still asking, where's Trenton? Well, sadly, many believe he is probably dead. But there are some who are holding out hope that Trenton could still be alive, including his dad. If so, how could that be? Well, one possibility is the handoff theory.
Until they can show me something else, there's nothing else to go on other than he's out there somewhere, and we have to continue to push the effort to try and find him.
I recently caught up with Josh Duckett, who has not given up on finding his son alive. After all, detectives never found blood or other evidence confirming the toddler died.
Hello? Hi, what is Trenton wearing, honey? I don't know. He was ready for bed.
Now, it was shortly after Melinda reported her son's abduction that detectives started to question whether the boy was really kidnapped from his bedroom. Early on, Leesburg, Florida police here were open to the possibility that maybe Melinda gave Trenton away to someone else, possibly a family member or a friend. Officers here urged that person to drop the child off at a public place.
And I can't assure them of anything, but the longer they keep Trenton, if that's the case, the worse it's going to be.
When I spoke with Melinda days after Trenton's disappearance, she denied being responsible.
I'm sure you know, I mean, a lot of people are questioning whether you had something to do with this.
Oh, I understand that. I do.
Could you harm your own child?
No.
After Melinda killed herself inside her grandparents' home, police found several suicide notes. The suicide notes did not indicate Trenton was dead. Instead, Melinda suggested her son was still alive, writing, "Even after my baby is found, I would not be a good mother."
Obviously, we have to face the facts that, Trenton may be alive, but Trenton may be dead.
While Leesburg police were preparing the public for the worst possible outcome, across town, the Marion County Sheriff's Office launched its own parallel investigation based on the premise that the toddler was still alive.
It's been the theory of the Marion County Sheriff's Office that we believe that Trenton Duckett was handed off.
According to Marion County investigators, 2 employees of this Wendy's restaurant in Bellevue claim to have seen Trenton with his mom just hours before she reported him missing.
But for sure, she called him Trenton, and you guys discussed the name Trenton.
Because I thought it was, I was dead.
One of the fast food workers who passed a polygraph claims she served Melinda and Trenton here in the Wendy's drive-thru, at one point removing her drive-thru headset so she could hear the child's name.
Yeah, I thought she said dead, and she said Trey, because I moved my ear, and I heard the T. Oh, that's nice.
That same Wendy's employee says Melinda returned to the drive-thru about 20 minutes later. That time, Trenton was no longer in the car.
It was possible during this time that she may have left that Wendy's and actually met someone to hand Trenton off.
If Melinda handed off the toddler, where was Trenton taken? Well, Marion County investigators had another theory. The agency looked into whether Trenton was brought here to Orlando International Airport and smuggled onto a plane, possibly bound for South Korea.
We do have certain individuals that stated that Melinda had talked about her roots and possibly sending little Trenton back to his roots.
Melinda was born in South Korea, but she was adopted by an American family when she was just a few months old. Melinda's parents say she had absolutely no ties to her native country.
We're working with Customs. We're issuing some subpoenas.
Chris Blair, who was later elected Marion County Sheriff and then resigned from office in controversy, admitted to me his agency had no solid proof Melinda sent her son overseas.
Did she have any contacts in Korea?
None specific that we're aware of at this time.
Back here in Leesburg, police absolutely discounted that handoff theory, saying the alleged sighting at the Wendy's just simply didn't match up with the timeline established by Melinda's cell phone records and other witness statements. Also, Leesburg police say none of Melinda's friends or the friends of those friends ever boarded a plane around the time of Trenton's disappearance. Lead detective Rich Giles, who is now retired, is convinced the child is dead. What do you think happened to Trenton Duckett?
I believe that Melinda killed him.
Detective Giles' personal opinion is that Trenton's mother took her son's life possibly an entire day before reporting him missing.
So you think whatever she did with Trenton probably happened near her apartment in Leesburg?
I'm thinking that what happened with Trenton happened at the apartment.
Officially, the Leesburg Police Department's investigation remains open.
Melinda Duckett is the prime suspect in the reported disappearance of Trenton.
Despite there being no evidence that Trenton Duckett is alive, there is also no evidence confirming he's dead. That gives Trenton's father hope that Melinda may have given their son away to somebody, even if it did not happen at that Bellevue Wendy's. If she handed him off, why did she do it?
Control. Her whole thing was controlling. She's still controlling my life, even though she's no longer here.
Josh believes Melinda's friends have not told detectives everything they know about Trenton's disappearance. You think people are still holding back information?
I definitely think there's people out there that have information that's not saying. you know, and no matter what the outcome, we want answers.
Here at the Leesburg Police Department, an investigator remains assigned to the case to follow up on any leads, and Trenton's missing child poster is still hanging in the windows. Anyone with information about his disappearance is urged to call the Central Florida Crime Line at 1-800-423-TIPS or the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, 1-800-THE-LOST. Until this child is found, this community will continue to ask, where's Trenton? I'm Mike DeForest.